There's a whole thing that happens when your body is in fight or flight. Sound and vibration can be used to move you back into parasympathetic and take what could have been 3 or 4 hours in a sympathetic nervous system response and turn that into 20 minutes.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who's out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. My guest today is Craig Goldberg. He is a certified Vibro-Acoustic therapy practitioner, and I would say a relaxation expert. Craig and I talk about some of the latest technologies and research in the use of sound vibration to help people to relax, to heal, and reduce stress and anxiety, and transform their lives while they're doing that, of course. There's a lot of background that we get into of how Craig got into this, which I think is really important to see the path that he took from dealing with some health issues that both he and his wife had, and how that led to essential oils, changing diet, clean water, and eventually leading to him studying Vibro-Acoustics. Craig's company has invented a number of devices which help people to relax and use sound not only through the ears, but in conjunction with the vibration in the body. He's going to be talking about, among other things, the sound lounge and how that works. It's a really fascinating topic. I think to me, it is the cutting edge of what is going on in the health field. It's non-pharmaceutical, non-invasive, and very much aligned with the vibration of the human animal. So let's get into this. This is Craig Goldberg. Craig Goldberg, straight to us from Las Vegas, sitting in a beautiful home in the desert, overlooking his kingdom. And how's that for an intro? He's here.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that.
Well, we had a nice little chat before, and we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about all things sound and healing. I personally have had a lot of success in my own life with sound, starting with music, as we talked about a little bit, and into this I did not mention, but I meditate to various types of sounds, particularly binaural beats. That is real helpful to me. And I know that you've been working in sound for a long time. And what people may or may not understand is that sound is healing. And it's also, it can be really toxic if it's not the right sound, of course. I was in a tire place yesterday, and the impact wrench was going off, and I wanted to kill myself. So I didn't do that, but
Not so soothing.
Yeah, there's no more relaxing sound than the dulcet tones of an impact wrench taking a lug nut off a tire. But, like I say, I meditate to different types of sounds, and I've done some sessions with tuning forks, which has been really incredible. I want to hear about let's talk about how you got started in this field and some of the things that you've invented and developed and are continuing to do so to this day.
You said something that I really want to touch. First of all, Bob, thank you so much for having me here. Already like-minded individuals on similar quests, similar impact, and I am grateful to have this opportunity to be able to share, meet your audience, and connect with you. Sound it's everything. I get that I'm a little biased given the business I have, but we are vibrational beings, and we kind of touched on this right beforehand of like, not everybody knows or realizes this, or it's not in everybody's awareness. But the reality is the physical body is designed to pick up and determine and evaluate energetic and vibrational sounds on the body. We have antenna for this. The brain is processing this, and we can dive into that for sure. The statement that I want to address just right off the bat is you said sound is healing. I'll challenge that. The sound itself, I don't believe there are any bad frequencies. There might be for you, like that impact wrench. Whereas the guys working there, that might be their thing, right? They might be like, you know what? I love the sounds of the garage, and it gets them going day in and day out, right? It might not be. They might be like there for a paycheck and not happy at all, and that's okay too, right? So each of us has a series of sounds, frequencies, and vibrations that get us into a good place and can pull us into a bad place. And it's an ongoing conversation here in my house. I have a 3.5-year-old. Her crying just doesn't do anything positive for me whatsoever. And I think that's the way Mother Nature designed it. So when you say sound is healing, I agree with you on the surface, but I really want to dissect and break down what that is about sound that is so healing.
Great.
And for me and our work here at In Harmony, it's really being in a parasympathetic nervous system response, being cool, calm, and collected, being in rest and digest is the state that the nervous system needs to be in for your body to function the way it was naturally and beautifully designed to operate. And by contrast, when you're in stress and anxiety or fight or flight or a sympathetic nervous system response, that's when the body is not really functioning on maintenance tasks. It's not really focusing on what it needs to do day to day to heal itself, to protect itself, to activate detox pathways, to do all the maintenance tasks in the body. And there are many of them that need to happen daily. And instead, it's in fight or flight. It's in survival mode. So when it's in survival mode, it turns off normal, regular maintenance modes to divert that energy to survival. Cortisol and adrenaline flow through the body. Digestion is interrupted. Immune system's erupted. Reproductive organs are hormones are not flowing correctly. There's a whole thing that happens when your body is in fight or flight. Sound and vibration can be used to move you back into parasympathetic and take what could have been 3 or 4 hours in a sympathetic nervous system response and turn that into 20 minutes. And when the body is in rest and digest, that's when it functions the way it's designed to function. And for many people listening, and myself included, until I met my own technology, I was in fight or flight every day, all day, day after day. I would check this beautiful thing when I woke up in the morning and it would send me in a tailspin because of an email I got or something that was going on. I would check it right before I went to bed to see what I got to deal with the next day. And I'd be thrown into a tailspin and I can't sleep. And before you know it, day after day, that's when you really open up the opportunity for disease to set in, for dis-ease to set in. And it really comes down to our social conditioning, and it really comes down to being in that parasympathetic nervous system response to truly be relaxed and rested. And that's where I feel like so many people fall short. And that's why I'm grateful to be here to be able to share this message.
Well, there's an interesting, thank you. That's awesome that you explained it that way. There's an interesting thing about having the system being off. Some of it is created by environmental factors, and some is just between our ears. Like we create these, like you say, I got to check my email. Now that's not a real thing. That's a artificial construct that feels important because, oh, it's an email. It's on this technological device. It must be important. I got to get to it immediately because why would I wait? What if it's it's essential? My happiness is at stake here if I don't answer this email. And so
Dopamine hit.
Yeah.
There's dopamine hits included with that zero inbox, that elusive zero inbox.
Yeah. Well, I'm important. That's a dopamine hit. Somebody wants me. Totally. I'm important. But the truth is, that is we come up with that and then we get stressed. Now, I had some stuff happen in the last 2 days that are stressful, and I'm still sort of affected by it. One was car trouble, and the other was a leak in my roof. Now, those are things that happened. I didn't make them up, but how do I react to that? There was, initially when they happen, I'm annoyed. That's my first thing. I'm annoyed. I get annoyed really easily, and I'm impatient. And then I go, well, we'll figure it out. And then I'm kind of okay, but I don't
go into problem solution kind of mode.
Yeah. And I'm but it is important for me to meditate every day and reset that rhythm inside of my body to connect me with what's important. And I think sound is that for me, and I use it for meditation all the time. I listen to music and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, but I really find it super valuable.
Absolutely. Look, the meditative practice is what helps you to set the stage on how you're going to react to these things when they happen to you. And I'm right there with you, Bob. So in the last 60 days, I packed up a home and moved my wife, my daughter, and moved into a new home. Despite all that going on, plus everything happening in harmony, we're growing exponentially, which is brilliant. I have a spectacular Ram 2500 pickup truck that I absolutely love, that I made a significant investment in. And as I was moving back and forth, I can't even tell you how many dings and nicks. The body was perfect until I bought this RV, a fifth wheel, because I have an older RV that's got a motor and an engine in it. And I went, look, I can get so much more RV if I get a fifth wheel because there's no engine. So I bought a fifth wheel. It wasn't literally the second night. I wasn't home 24 hours with that thing before I tried to back out and disconnect with my tailgate open. Anybody with a fifth wheel knows that the gooseneck arm just goes straight through the back of the tail, and it just bent the whole thing. And I was pretty well worked up when that happened. Okay. Then when I was moving, I had these storage racks from my garage in the back of my truck. I thought I had it tied down effectively, not 200 yards on the highway. And I took one rolling dip and they come flying out. And since I did tie half of them down, they were teeter-tottering on the outside of my paint job, chip paint all around the outside. I mean, like, it was 120 degrees. This was a month ago, and it was just chaos. And then I'll give you one more. And I want to kind of wrap all this up together and kind of share with you why I'm out of focus right now. And I want to share with you why I believe this is such an important process and how life continues to happen to all of us. And meditation and mindfulness won't stop life from happening, but instead it changes how you respond. Yesterday, I was swapping out the bed for my daughter in the RV, and I had to slide out in order to do that. I've had a lot of people in and out of my house. We've had cars jammed all over our driveway. I didn't think to go out and look what was on the other side of the slide out. So I began sliding out the RV. Not only that, but I'm showing my friends the RV for the first time. So I'm kind of thinking about what they're thinking about it. And I'm not thinking about what's on the other side. Turns out my Jeep was on the other side of it, and it bent the bottom of the slide out, scratched the top of the hood of the car. And I got to tell you, I thought I handled it really, really well. Like, I wasn't mad at myself. I did it. I don't have anybody else to blame except myself. It's not my wife's fault for parking there. It's just little old me. And I just kind of shrugged it off and went, you know what? Not a big deal. We're going to fix it. And that'll be that. Or we won't. Or it'll stay the way that it is. And I believe it's my mindfulness process that helps me to get to that state faster. And
Yeah,
it's a regular practice. I wasn't meditating when that happened. In fact, quite the opposite. But I did notice myself taking a few deep breaths. I did notice myself going back to some breathing techniques that I have. And I did notice myself calming myself down consciously and not allowing myself to get so worked up over a situation that otherwise would have worked me up.
well, it's kind of awesome when we get tested. We don't like it, but when we get tested and kind of pass the test
Every day.
like you did in that situation, that feels kind of good. It doesn't fix the actual problem in itself, but it fixes the response, and it lessens the intensity and the period of time that it lasts, the kind of reactivity.
It also allows my body to stay in a relaxed state, to manage its overall health and wellness, and to stay in that state where my body can operate the way it was naturally and beautifully designed to operate, instead of going into fight or flight, instead of the increase in adrenaline and cortisol, instead of turning off my immune system and digestion, instead of all these other things potentially happening. I was able to stay calm and collected and continue on the maintenance activities of the body.
I wanted to ask you something before we got too far into this, because I was reading your bio, and there was some information that your wife was ill at some point, and the conventional medical solutions, if you want to call them that, were ineffective, and that sent you on a path to discovering things. Can you elaborate on that a little more? You don't have to if it's not comfortable.
I would love to. It's a story I've told many times, and I haven't actually shared this in a while, so I'm very excited to dive into it.
Okay, thank you.
My wife and I have been together for 15 years, and we lived kind of a quintessential San Diego lifestyle at the time. We were both working full-time jobs, which when you don't own your own business means when you leave work, you've left work and you don't keep working. So we were having a lot of fun. And all of a sudden my wife started feeling sick and we couldn't figure out what was going on. For 6 months, we went all throughout the Scripps network, specialist after specialist, doc after doc, trying to find a solution, and everything kept coming up negative. All the tests they were doing, everything came back negative. The symptoms were really important, which I don't think I mentioned on my website or in my promo, but all of our lymph nodes from her waist up were swollen. And, we're familiar with when your lymph nodes on your throat, it usually means you're coming down with something. Well, there's 500 lymph nodes in the body, most of which are above your waist. And I mean, like these back here, you've got lymph nodes in the back of your head, the back of your neck, underneath your arms. Like they were all sort of the touch and very swollen. We did a biopsy on one, came back benign. We tried to figure out all these different things of what it was. And clearly her body is having a reaction to something. She was losing her voice. This wound up actually being the kicker. She would lose her voice almost every Saturday around 3:00, like clockwork, which is just weird. But when I explain to you what was going on, it makes a lot more sense. And my wife has this gorgeous olive Turkish skin, and all of a sudden she was getting pimples. Some of them pretty big, almost cyst-like, and it was concerning. So doc after doc, we're going all over the place. We're doing all these tests. Eventually, a friend of ours at a festival. It was Sunday morning. We had just woken up, and my wife still hadn't regained her voice back after losing it at 3:00 in the afternoon the day before. And our friend Roxy came up to us and said, "You lost your voice." And she goes, "Yeah, but it wasn't from like we were at a festival, but it wasn't from partying. It wasn't from screaming. It was like no." She's like whispering, like every Saturday around 3:00, I lose my voice. She goes, she had a beer in her hand, and she goes, "Put the beer down." And she put the beer down. She goes, "You have a gluten sensitivity. Stop drinking beer, stop eating gluten. You won't lose your voice." And I bet that's related to the other stuff that's going on in your body as well. 72 hours after being 100% gluten-free, all of her symptoms went away within 3 days. Wild. My wife is Turkish. Mediterranean diet includes bulgur wheat, pasta, bread. We were drinking beer at the time, obviously. And the reason she was losing her voice is because we would go out to dinner. We'd have pizza and gluten and dairy. We would go out for Thursday night happy hour and drink a few beers. We would wake up on Friday, work a half day, then have a few beers in the afternoon. Friday night, have a few beers, right? Like it's just a very American thing to do. And by Saturday, the gluten sensitivity would build up so much, the inflammatory response would build up so much that her throat would begin to close and her larynx would begin to shut down because of the inflammatory response. Wild. I can't even tell you how many doctors I asked if this could be diet related. Should we be doing a flush, like a gallbladder flush? All these different books that we're playing with and trying to figure out what was going on with her. In the end, it wound up being gluten. And my wife, bless her beautiful stubborn heart, she's like, "No, it wasn't the gluten. It's this new lotion that my dermatologist gave me, and it's not gluten." And at the time, we were gearing up to go to Burning Man, and I said, "Look, we go to the burn, and we're taking care of our diet and our nutrition. Let's make that a gluten-free week, and let's not deal with these symptoms while we're out there. But when we get back, you'll have some gluten. We'll reintroduce it, and if the symptoms come back, we know that's what it was." And that's exactly what happened. Her first bite of gluten, within 45 minutes to an hour, we could see our lymph nodes starting to swell up, and we were seeing her skin start to uneven out. It's really quite remarkable. And this kind of really shot us in a direction of really learning about these three main environments: what we put in our mouth, what we put on our skin, and what we keep in the air around us, and how important these three environments are to manage and to keep clean, because we live in a toxic world, and our body's defense mechanisms for that toxic load can only take us so far, which is why I'm a huge proponent in a regular detox protocol: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. And I'm a big fan in supporting the body's natural mechanisms, supporting the liver, supporting the kidneys, supporting circulation and blood flow, cold therapy, hot therapy, sweating, exercise, drinking clean water, eating clean food, and generally avoiding gluten and dairy here in the United States.
Interestingly enough, my wife has a pretty serious gluten allergy herself, not to the point where it may have gotten to that if she didn't stop, but not to the point of lymph nodes swelling in some obvious way. But there was some serious side effects that she was having way back. This was like, I don't know, 25, 30, almost 30 years ago. And there was not much information about it. There certainly were not a lot of alternatives on the market that you could.
Even for us, this was 10 years ago. This was 2012 and 11 years ago. And even back then, there were not the gluten-free section was too.
That's right. It was,
it was like a section.
Tiny.
And now, of course, it's spread throughout the entire supermarket.
Yeah, but, people get upset. I'm allergic to gluten. What are you talking about? Just eat it. It's pizza. It's.
Well, how much have you dove into it? I know it's not why we're here, but I geek out on this stuff.
Sidetrack on this because I haven't talked about gluten specifically at all. Other than with a couple of nutritionists. That's just sort of we cover it, but it's quick. So go ahead.
So it's not fair. Okay.
It's not.
It's just not fair, and it's not any of our faults. Okay. It's not the gluten itself, in my opinion. It's the amount of gluten that we're consuming, and it's the origins of that gluten, how it's grown. It's pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides that are being sprayed on it that the EPA knows are still in the food when we consume it. And it just doesn't pair well when it comes to food combining. Gluten just doesn't like I grew up in New York, a chicken Parmesan hero. Okay. Was like, I can't even tell you how many of those I ate in college. I went to SUNY Buffalo. There was a Hubie's was downstairs. It was like an Italian place where you can get wings, and their chicken parms. I probably had one a day, sometimes two a day. All right. The bread with the dairy and the breaded chicken, the gluten that's around the chicken, and then the bread and all the cheese. It literally just sits in the stomach and curdles. Like the food combining perspective, it's not good, right? So any sandwich where you're combining meat and gluten and throwing in cheese, real dairy, you're setting the tone for digestive issues just in general. And the amount of glyphosate that they use on conventional and unfortunately organic bread, wheat in particular, when it is harvested, it's downright horrendous. And that's part of what's triggering the issues for our digestion and the gluten sensitivity, which then plays host to tight junctions opening and all of a sudden food getting into the bloodstream before it's digested. And that leads to allergic reactions. My sister's deathly allergic to kiwi. She carries 2 EpiPens in case a banana that she's eating is sitting next to a kiwi.
Oh, wow.
And she eats the banana. She's that sensitive to it.
Yeah, that blows.
It's not fair.
Yeah, it is not fair.
It's not fair.
But it is what it is, and that's...
Look, sour, I really like sourdough, and I really like homemade bread where I know the flour, and I know the source of the flour, and I do eat gluten-free bread, and it's on a list of things I know I shouldn't be eating, and I eat anyway. It's a little indulgence that I have.
Yeah. But, I got a few of those. I think
we all do.
Sourdough bread is one of them. Yeah. It's like, you're human and, you want to have a little bit.
To that end, I'm a huge proponent that if you're ill, like my wife was, all right. So for 6 months after that, we went completely gluten-free, 100%. And then I started having some health issues from going gluten-free that all of a sudden started to show themselves. And from there, my wife and I, we went really strict local, organic, and vegan. We cut out everything. And for us, it was much easier to be 100% no. We brought food with us everywhere we went. I brought water with me everywhere I went. I knew where all my food came from. I was either a farmer's market or a friend's backyard. And we were really cognizant about it. If you're not feeling your best, I think that calls for 100% compliance with whatever dietary restrictions you're putting yourself on so that you can rid yourself of that reaction and that experience. And then once the body has a chance to regulate itself, You throw a little gluten in here and there, and my wife certainly does. We throw a little dairy in now and again. Like for those 3 years, if you had me over your house, I brought my own food. If you had me over for dinner, I brought my own food. I didn't want to pressure or put stress on you to hit my requirements, and they were so limited. I just said, you know what? I'll bring my own food. I'll eat with you. It'd be great. And then now, if you have me over, Bob, whatever you're cooking, I'm good with.
Yeah. Well, I get that. I avoid restaurants for a few. That's one of the main reasons. I don't know what they're putting into the thing that they're even saying is healthy. I don't know.
Oh.
There's so many different types of oils and stuff that I've reacted to that I just, it's like, why even worry about it if I don't have to? So I really don't do a lot of that. Maybe, once a month at the most. That's at the most, usually like every couple of months. So that's our food portion for today. But I want to get back to the portion. See what I did there? I tied it in. Yeah, but I want to do more about sound. Now, let's talk about some of your protocols and some of your inventions, because this is really fascinating stuff for people, because there are people that have been healed by sound of conditions that, like you were saying, the conventional doctors didn't see. And then I want to talk, well, I'll wait. I want to talk about trauma, because that comes up all the time. And I want to talk about sound
trauma.
And trauma.
No doubt.
Because I've really discovered a couple of things about trauma in this podcast. And probably the main thing is the part of the brain where trauma resides cannot be adequately accessed and changed through talk therapy. And there's a lot of time that's been spent with that. It's good for uncovering things, discovering and uncovering things, but it doesn't really change that part of the brain in the way that some other things can do. And can we talk about how sound, and maybe you work with people that just you do stress and anxiety, but a lot of that is caused by trauma.
Let me give a little background to In Harmony. And look, that journey that you just asked me about with my wife is ultimately what led to me finding sound and vibration therapy, and ultimately diving into the business that I'm in now for the last 6.5 years. So my wife gets sick. We figure out it's gluten. We start to be cognizant of these 3 main environments, including what you put on your skin, which means for my wife, makeups, right? We learned about parabens. We learned about all the goopy negative stuff that's in a lot of makeup that women wear on their skin. Your skin is obviously, you have pores on your skin. You actually absorb more chlorine in a shower, in a 10-minute shower, than you would in drinking a pint of tap water.
It is
right. So
disgusting.
Let's say the same. Right. if you're showering in tap water, unfiltered, and you took a pint in the shower and you drank it, you would absorb more chlorine, bromine, bromides, and all the other chemicals that they put in the water through your skin than you would in drinking that pint of water, which is just absolutely remarkable to me.
Yeah. I had somebody on the show who basically said, weigh yourself before you go in the shower, and then weigh yourself after. You'll weigh more. Not because of wet hair, but because of yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Your body absorbs the water, and then you got to dissipate it. So my wife and I start traveling, teaching and educating on the efficacy of essential oils, because when you give up and you're cognizant 10 years ago of what you're putting on your skin, we didn't have as many natural deodorants as we have now. We didn't have colognes and perfumes, right? So we joined up with a big essential oil company, and we started teaching people about the efficacy of essential oils, and we start traveling all over the place, yoga retreats and that sort of thing. And I'm going to those yoga retreats, and I am gravitated towards the sound therapists that are the sound baths as they're happening. And I would lay in front of these acoustic instruments, bells, chimes, gongs, didgeridoos, these types of frequency devices. And I don't know what happened, but I woke up 45 minutes later feeling like $1 million, feeling lighter, cleansed, clean, clear, grounded, all the things, ready to rock and roll, ready to shed what was and drift into what will be. And I was super happy to be there. And I wanted this experience on tap. So I bought a gong CD. I'm an audiophile. I like good sound and music, as we were talking about. I took all my speakers and I put them around me, and I cranked that CD looking for that same vibratory experience. And didn't do it. It was the wrong technology. Interestingly enough, about 3-4 months later, I get a phone call from my now business partner, Dominic, who says, hey, you got to come down to my office and check something out. You got to check out something called the Sound Lounge. And I was like, okay. And I went down there, and
Sound what?
Sound Lounge.
Sound Lounge.
For those
Okay.
that are watching, I'm going to pull up a picture so that they can see what a sound lounge looks like. But you'll see right up here, this gentleman is laying down on a mattress that we produce. Inside there are 4 tactile transducers, which is a fancy word for half of a speaker. It's powered by an amplifier. He's wearing headphones, and it's got a little app that's over there too. It's ergonomically designed to keep it nice and comfy. So 6.5 years ago, we started producing the In Harmony Sound Lounge, as you see it right now. In January of 2018, we created something called the In Harmony Practitioner, which is designed to augment bodywork with sound and vibration.
Ooh.
And then in 2020, we created the In Harmony Meditation Cushion, which again, all has a vibratory effect. All of it is furniture built with tactile transducers, amplifiers, and they play music that you can feel and hear at the same time. And when you are feeling the same frequencies as you are hearing, this creates a 3-dimensional, fully immersive sound experience that your brain thinks you're inside the music. The mechanoreceptors that are sending signals and changes in pressure on your skin to the brain are sending the same frequency dynamics, if you will, through as the auditory nerve is. And this creates an immersive sound experience, makes you feel as though you're inside the music in a very unique way.
Inside the music. That is a wonderful way of putting it. I love that. I've had that feeling even playing music sometimes. I'm in it. I'm inside of it.
Yeah. Well, when you're playing music, you're sitting in the vibratory field,
right?
Whether it's an amplified guitar and you're sitting near an amplifier, or it's an acoustic instrument, and those vibrations it's why music is so spectacular. This is unrelated to what I do here on the sound side of things, but more related to my essential oils days. The olfactory is a very powerful scent. And when the brain logs a memory, it actually records the 5 senses at the time. So it's almost like when like a security camera in your house goes off and all the other cameras turn on, and it just records, 60 seconds on all cameras is a setting for me on my Ring system anyway. So like, even though the motion was in the front of my house, the back of my house will record, and so I could see everything that's happening around the house, right? Very similar in the human body. We have a memory, and all 5 senses get recorded. So any one of the senses can trigger that memory by reproducing that experience. And then all of a sudden you may drift into great examples, like when people smell orange essential oil, a lot of times that'll take them back to a childhood memory of mom or grandma, grandpa or dad, for that matter, making fresh orange juice, squeezing fresh orange juice.
Sure.
And just that smell triggers the memory, and you have the visual in your mind's eye. And you might even hear some of those noises from that household that you were in a very similar way.
I have that with fresh cut grass. Takes me back to childhood in an instant, and it's a happy part of childhood. It's just being outside and smelling that smell and being free to run around, and just, a little love in there, all that great stuff. It just does it every time. Really, I need to go buy a new lawnmower. I
literally just had a conversation with a 2-year landscaper, and I was like, at my old house, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to handle this one. And he was like, all right, you like it? I was like, it's a really small patch of grass. I can handle it. And I really enjoy it. Pruning the hedges and blowing everything out. I'm actually really excited about it.
There's nothing like it. And you did it yourself, so you get that extra satisfaction. So these chairs and couches and professional, what did you call it? The
In Harmony Sound Lounge, the In Harmony Practitioner, and the In Harmony Meditation Cushion are 3 products. And our 4th product is our app, which contains the music that drives all of it. And we're regularly
That's where I was
adding
going with this. Like, how do they connect, and how do you know what to pick for your particular situation? And you don't need to go to a practitioner to do this. You can do this yourself, which is really fantastic. I mean, what a great thing you've done.
Our products, direct to consumer, you can buy them on our website and take it home and immediately start using it. It's safe for everybody. There are some contraindications, which we can definitely talk about. But our app is what drives all of the music. Music is what drives this technology. And for those of you, I'm just opening up the In Harmony Music Meditations app, and each one of these tiles is a different experience. And they range in duration from 2 minutes to 2 hours. And they range in all sorts of different experiential. We have anxiety, we have guilt, we have shame, we have abundance. We have inspiration, clarity, reflection. We have ocean sounds. We've got rainforest sounds. We've got some more ceremonial like sounds with Native American flutes and a Spanish guitar track. And we're very blessed and very lucky to have a gentleman by the name of Anthony Weiss with us. He's our director of content creation, and he is a full-time musician making music full-time for our app. So every week we're rolling out a new track that ranges anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours. Generally, the tracks that he creates are about 30 minutes long. And then we cut 22-minute and 11-minute versions of those tracks because we actually have a lot of folks that buy our technology to be used in their clinic. And the 11-minute and 22-minute tracks make it really easy for them to have a room unavailable for 15 minutes and 30 minutes so that they can kind of plan that. We have massage therapists that use our technology. So we have tracks that are 66 minutes, an hour and a half, and 2 hours so that they can line that up with their massage. That's 60 or 90 minutes. So we've got a lot of really interesting tools in there, and we're very engaged with our community. So they're regularly telling us what type of music they want, and we're then going out and creating that. We have some hypnosis tracks coming out. We have some NLP tracks coming out, guided meditations, breath work. There's a lot of really exciting things in there.
Is there any talking over any of it, like particularly with breath work?
Not much. I have a track in there that I created that is an overview. So if you get our technology home to your house, you don't really need to know how to explain the technology. We have it's very unique looking furniture, just in general. So inevitably, if you have it out in your house, the sound lounge, the practitioner, the meditation cushion, inevitably your friends are going to ask you, hey, like, what is that? And you're going to say, oh, it's my In Harmony meditation cushion. Would you like to try it? So we have a demo track. It's 2 minutes, 22 seconds, and just put them on it and they listen to it. And it's designed to be very melodic, very uplifting, and it's designed to show them the full power of that vibratory experience, inevitably leaving them wanting more. It's 2 minutes and 22 seconds. It literally goes by like that. And then the next track after that in the app is our overview. And I actually recorded my voice talking about the technology, and a lot of which we've already talked about here. But this way, oh, you like that? Hear from the founder of the company, and here's what this technology is all about. And they're getting an experience while they're listening to me talk about it. It's 9 minutes and 9 seconds. We have a guided meditation by a gal, Victoria Angelhart. She was our first. And then we have a guided breathwork session by a gentleman by the name of Ben Holt. That is probably one of the most played tracks in the app. It's absolutely fantastic. The thing is, not everybody loves every voice. And from my perspective, it's much easier and faster for me to turn out music that doesn't have voices, but we will be getting into this more and more as we progress into this year and next.
Accessing certain frequencies that are kind of this known ancestral kind of thing that is, you know, I guess truth really is what it is in some sense, you know, when you talk about the different frequencies doing different things, and then he's layering music on top of that, or how does he work? It's really
all of the above. So yeah, there's quite a bit of research that goes into the specific frequencies that Anthony uses in the specific tracks based on that specific intention. And it's broad spectrum, meaning you're listening to lots of different frequencies. When you listen to a symphony, you're not hearing one frequency, you're hearing an infinite amount.
I always wonder how people figure out the combinations, you know, like, you know, even in some of the binaural beats, it'll say, oh, it's 432 hertz and 769 or whatever. I can't remember all the numbers.
Sure.
Yeah. They mix.
So binaural beats are very interesting and worth defining. Binaural beats are listening to two different frequencies, typically within 10 hertz of each other, one on the left, one on the right. The brain, while connecting the left and right hemisphere, breeds a third harmonic frequency, which is a measure of usually right in between both of them. And that's what actually trains the hemispheres of the brain and activates both sides of your thinking, is that you're different frequencies in either side. We have some tracks with binaural beats. We use isochronic tones. We use a myriad of different aspects to entrain the brain. Great partnership with BrainTap that has a lot of our music in their app as well. And they do some phenomenal things with brainwave entrainment. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them while I was here and talking about that. But there is quite a bit of research that goes into it. Intention is probably the most important aspect of what we do. And it's probably the most important aspect for each of our users that are using our technology as well. the intention you set for that session, and if you can align it with a track and a music meditation from In Harmony, it's even better. But the big story here for us is the delivery mechanism. Anthony knows how much I love the music that we create and how important it is. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's ultimately the full body frequency delivery system that we utilize that is putting the body into that parasympathetic or calm and relaxed state. And that's the real story of it's the full body vibration. It's shaking every cell in your body. It's opening up lymphatic drainage. It's increasing circulation. It's helping by sending a message to every muscle in your body, telling it to relax. So we really do relax the body from the outside in. And it happens to feel amazing at the same time.
And you're regulating something that's possibly dysregulated. Well, this is very fascinating. I love these inventions. I wish I had one right here, right now. So we can.
I wish you did too.
So tell people how they can access your website, and that's, I'm sure, where you can purchase these things, but also to learn more about this. If you're curious, Craig's going to tell us all the information we need right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I'm Craig Goldberg. I'm a co-founder of the company. www.iaminharmony.com. iaminharmony.com is our website. We're on all the socials: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, we're there. You search us in Google and we'll come up. In Harmony Interactive. Our app is in Android and iOS store. And I'm the guy on the other side of all the comments. And I'm the guy on the other side of all of the messaging, direct messages, DMs, and that sort of thing. I'm also the guy that's at the other side of the phone number. It's at the bottom of our website and the top of our website as well. So I really enjoy being an evangelist for this technology, to talk and connect with folks that have questions about this technology and how it might be able to help them on your individual journey. And I would love to connect with as many folks as possible, because this is a passion project for me. It's what drives me. It's the impact that our technology has day in and day out, and the value that we can provide in everyone's life. So again, thank you for having me. And thank you so much for sharing this message with your listeners.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's an important thing. I'm all about, I guess you want to call it biohacking, if we want to call it that. It's sort of under that umbrella, but ways that we can use the knowledge we have to up our game with every area. And people are doing it all the time, whether it's supplements or smells, or in this case, sound. It's fantastic. Well, have a beautiful day. I'm going to end the recording, but I have one question to ask you after this.
Got it.
Much appreciation for you folks listening to The Exploding Human. You can check out the website, which is theexplodinghuman.com. There's also a YouTube channel where you can listen. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Once again, I want to thank Craig for being on the program. You can check the company out at iaminharmony.com. iaminharmony.com. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.